Hi, rock stars. This is Miss Rogers, and before we begin, I know my nails look crazy. Okay, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, I have a question. Have you ever asked someone to retell you a story and they told you every little detail of the story and it sounded a little like this?
Okay, so there was a giraffe named Gerald, and he was like really clumsy, but he really was good at like eating leaves off of trees. And so then one day he decided he wanted to go to an animal dance, like a jungle dance in Africa.
2 hours later.
And so then when he went to the dance, he saw the walruses waltzing, and he saw like the lions doing a tango, and he saw the monkeys doing a swing, and he saw the chimpanzees doing like this extra like little salsa dance. And so then he went to dance, and so when he went out there, they all laughed at him. And so then he was like really sad, so he started walking into the jungle, and he was looking down at the leaves, and then the cricket came in, and he was like, hey, you should look at the moon, and you should hear your own song. So then when he heard his own song.
Okay, so that's not what we're going to do today. Today, I'm going to teach you that readers can show that they understand a book by telling the major parts of the story, and that is called summarizing. Let's head over to our anchor chart so I can teach you some strategies to summarize. So when you are summarizing, something easy that you can remember to help you identify the major parts of the story is somebody wanted but so then. Somebody should make us think about who is the main character. Then we need to think about what did the character want. But next we need to think about what was the character's problem. And then how did the character try to solve the problem? And then finally, how was the problem actually solved? Listen to me as I summarize a familiar book, Giraffes Can't Dance. Gerald the giraffe was the main character, and I remember that he really wanted to dance. His problem was he did not know how to dance and animals laughed at him. So then a nice cricket told him to find his own dance, and then finally he danced beautifully and the animals loved it. If I were to read my summary, I would say, Gerald the giraffe wanted to dance, but he did not know how to dance and the animals laughed at him. So a very nice cricket told him to find his own dance. Then he danced beautifully and the animals loved it. Now let's try the same strategy with another book. Okay, boys and girls, so today I am going to read you one of my favorite books, and it is Horton Hatches the Egg by Dr. Seuss. Now, as I'm reading, you're going to help me summarize the story. Remember, we can keep in mind somebody wanted but so then. Speaking of somebody, we need to identify the main character, and well, I see that it says Horton hatched the egg, and Horton's name is in the title. And then I see an elephant, and he seems to be sitting on a nest, and there's probably an egg in there. Do you think that the elephant might be Horton? And if it is, then is it possible that Horton might be the main character because his name is in the title? It might be a good prediction. Let's just read to find out. Horton Hatches the Egg by Dr. Seuss. Sighed Maisie, a lazy bird hatching an egg. I'm tired and I'm bored and I have kinks in my leg. From just sitting here day after day. It's work how I hate it. I'd much rather play. I'd take a vacation, fly off for a rest. If I could find someone to stay on my nest, if I could find someone, I'd fly away free. So it seems like Maisie's pretty bored on that nest. She must be a new character. Then Horton the elephant passed by her tree. Hello, called the lazy bird, smiling her best. You've nothing to do, and I do need a rest. Would you like to sit on the egg in my nest? The elephant laughed. Why, of all silly things, I haven't feathers and I haven't wings. Me on your egg? Why, that doesn't make sense. Your egg is so small, ma'am, and I'm so immense. Tut, answered Maisie. I know you're not small, but I'm sure you can do it. No trouble at all. You're soft. Just sit on it softly. You're gentle and kind. Come be a good fellow. I know you won't mind. I can't, said the elephant. Please, begged the bird. I won't be gone long, sir. I give you my word. I'll hurry right back. Why, I'll never be missed. Okay, so now it seems like we've been introduced to Horton. Let's keep reading to see who's the main character, who the author really focuses on in the story. Very well, said the elephant. Since you insist, you want to vacation, go fly off and take it. I'll sit on your egg and I'll try not to break it. I'll stay and be faithful. I mean what I say. Toodaloo, sang out Maisie and fluttered away. I just don't have a good feeling about this Maisie. Let's see. first thing to do, murmured Horton. Let's see. The first thing to do is to prop up this tree and make it much stronger. That has to be done. Before I get on it, I must weigh a ton. Then carefully, tenderly, gently he crept up the trunk to the nest where the little egg slept. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? That's kind of unbelievable to think that an elephant could really climb on a tree, but this is fiction and we're using our imagination, and I think that's pretty cool. Then Horton the elephant smiled. Now that's that. And he sat, and he sat, and he sat, and he sat. Horton's being a really good friend to Maisie. And he sat all that day, and he kept the egg warm. And he sat all that night through a terrible storm. It poured and it lightened. It thundered, it rumbled. This isn't much fun, the poor elephant grumbled. I wish she'd come back, 'cause I'm cold and I'm wet. I hope that Maisie bird doesn't forget. Okay, wait a minute, rock stars. So far, it seems like the author has been focusing more on Horton. So I agree, I do think that he's the main character. But listen again, it sounds like he just told us something that he wanted. I'll read this part again. I wish she'd come back, 'cause I'm cold and I'm wet. I hope that Maisie bird doesn't forget. So what is it that Horton wants right now? That's right, for Maisie to come back to her nest. I think that's a major part of the story so far. Horton gave Maisie his word that he would stay on her nest until she returns, and he hopes that she comes back. But Maisie by this time was far beyond reach, enjoying the sunshine way off in Palm Beach, and having such fun, such a wonderful rest, decided she'd never go back to her nest. Uh-oh. So that seems like a problem. Horton wants her to come back to her nest, but she decided that she'd never go back. I can only imagine what troubles Horton is going to face. Let's keep reading. So Horton kept sitting there day after day, and soon it was autumn, the leaves blew away. And then came the winter, the snow and the sleet, and icicles hung from his trunk and his feet. But Horton kept sitting and said with a sneeze, I'll stay on this egg and I won't let it freeze. I meant what I said and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. Horton is really being a good friend, and I see one problem already. I mean, just look at him. He's having to sit through this terrible weather. I wonder if he's going to have any other major problems. So poor Horton sat there the whole winter through, and then came the springtime with troubles anew. His friends gathered round, and they shouted with glee, Look! Horton the elephant's up in a tree. They taunted, they teased him, they yelled, How absurd! Old Horton the elephant thinks he's a bird! Oh no, poor Horton. I mean, look at him. And look at his friends, they're just all laughing at him. They just seem to be adding more and more to his problem. They laughed and they laughed, then they all ran away. And Horton was lonely. He wanted to play, but he sat on the egg and continued to say, I meant what I said and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. Poor Horton. No matter what happens, this egg must be tended. But poor Horton's troubles were far, far from ended. For while Horton sat there, so faithful, so kind, 3 hunters came sneaking up softly behind. I feel like Horton's problems are just growing and growing. He heard the men's footsteps. He turned with a start. 3 rifles were aiming right straight at his heart. Oh no. Poor Horton. Did he run? He did not. Horton stayed on that nest. He held his head high and he threw out his chest. And he looked at the hunters as much as to say, shoot if you must, but I won't run away. I meant what I said and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. But the men didn't shoot, much to Horton's surprise. They dropped their 3 guns and they stared with wide eyes. "Look!" they all shouted. "Can such a thing be? An elephant sitting on top of a tree? It's strange, it's amazing, it's wonderful new. Don't shoot, we'll catch him, that's just what we'll do. Let's take him alive while he's terribly funny. We'll sell him back home to a circus for money." Oh, wait a minute. If they sell him to a circus for money, his problems just keep growing and growing. I think this is another major part in the story.
Now what is Horton's problem?
The men are going to sell Horton to a circus. Oh, his problems have just gone bigger and bigger. And the first thing he knew, they had built a big wagon with ropes on the front for the pullers to drag on. They dug up his tree and they put it inside, with Horton so sad that he practically cried. "We're off," the men shouted, and off they all went, with Horton unhappy, 100%. Up out of the jungle, up into the sky, up over the mountains 10,000 feet high, then down the mountains and down to the sea, went the carts with the elephant, egg, nest, and tree. I really hope that Horton's problems get solved. This isn't fair to him. Then out of the wagon and onto a ship, out over the ocean, and ooh, what a trip! Rolling and tossing and splashed with the spray, and Horton said day after day after day, "I meant what I said and I said what I meant, but oh, am I seasick, 100%. After bobbing around for 2 weeks like a cork, they landed at last in the town of New York. "All ashore!" the men shouted, and down with a lurch went Horton the elephant, still on his perch, tied him to a board that could just scarcely hold him. Bump! Horton landed, and then the men sold him. Sold to a circus, then week after week, they showed him to people at 10 cents a peek. They took him to Boston, to Kalamazoo, Chicago, Weehawken, and Washington too, to Dayton, Ohio, St. Paul, Minnesota, to Wichita, Kansas, to Drake, North Dakota, and everywhere thousands of folks flocked to see and laugh at the elephant up in a tree. Poor Horton grew sadder the farther he went, but he said as he sat in the hot, noisy tent, "I meant what I said and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful, 100%. Okay, I'm feeling like a major part of the story has to be coming up next, because I just can't believe that Horton has to sit here and deal with this whole way through. Then one day, the circus show happened to reach a town way down south, not so far from Palm Beach. Do you remember who was down in Palm Beach? That's right, Maisie. And dawdling along way up high in the sky, who of all people should chance to fly by but that old good-for-nothing bird, runaway Maisie, still on vacation and still just as lazy. And spying the flags in the tents just below, she sang out, "What fun, why I'll go to the show." Let's see what happens. And she swooped from the clouds through an open tent door. "Good gracious," gasped Maisie, "I've seen you before." Poor Horton looked up with his face white as chalk. He started to speak, but before he could talk, wait a minute, rock stars. Let's think about this. Do you think that Maisie returning is a major part in the story? Why would it be a major part in the story? That's right, because remember, what Horton originally wanted was for Maisie to return back to her nest. And even though she took a very long time to return back, it's a major part of the story because his problem is somewhat solved. I mean, she did come back to her nest. Let's just see what happens. There rang out the noisiest, ear-splitting squeaks from the egg that he'd sat on for 51 weeks. A thumping, a bumping, a wild alive scratching. "My egg!" shouted Horton. "My egg! Why, it's hatching!" "Oh, it's so exciting!" "But it's mine!" screamed the bird when she heard the egg crack. The work was all done, now she wanted it back. "It's my egg," she sputtered. "You stole it from me. Get off of my nest and get out of my tree." Poor Horton backed down with a sad, heavy heart. Do you see what Maisie just tried to do? Does she deserve that egg? I don't think so either. But at that very instant, the egg burst apart, and out of the pieces of red and white shell from the egg that he sat on so long and so well, Horton the elephant saw something whiz. It had ears and a tail and a trunk just like his. And the people came shouting, "What's all this about?" They looked and they stared with their eyes popping out. Then they cheered and they cheered and they cheered more and more. They'd never seen anything like it before. "My goodness, my gracious," they shouted. "My word, it's something brand new. It's an elephant bird. And it should be like that, because Horton was faithful. He sat and he sat. He meant what he said and he said what he meant." Okay, rock stars, so let's think about this. So Horton's problem was somewhat, kind of almost solved when Maisie returned back to the egg. But now, how is Horton's problem really solved? That's right. The egg that Horton had sat on for so long ended up looking just like him. He had an elephant bird. So his hard work paid off. I think that's a major part of the story. What do you think? And they sent him home happy 100%. Okay, rock stars, so today I read to you Horton Hatches the Egg by Dr. Seuss, and you helped me identify the major parts in the story. Let's head over to our anchor chart so we can summarize this story.
So I need help. Can you remind me who was the main character of the story again? That's right, Horton. And what did he want? You've got it. He wanted to protect the egg until Maisie returned. But what problems did he face? That's right. Maisie didn't plan on returning, and he had to sit through bad weather, animals laughing at him, and he was even sold to a circus. So what happened after he was sold to the circus? That's right. So Maisie eventually saw him and she wanted her egg back. But then how was Horton's problem actually solved? Yes, then the egg hatched and it turned out to be an elephant bird, and Horton was happy 100%. You see, rock stars, we used the template "somebody wanted but so then" to help us summarize this story. So if we were to read it all together, we would say, Horton wanted to protect Maisie's egg until she returned, but she didn't plan on returning, so he sat through bad weather, animals laughing at him, and he was even sold to a circus. So Maisie eventually saw him at the circus and wanted her egg back. Then the egg hatched and it turned out to be an elephant bird, and Horton was happy 100%.
All right, rock stars, so today we practice identifying the major parts of the story to help us summarize the story. You can do that with any of the books that you read. So remember, when you want to summarize a story, a strategy you can use is "somebody wanted but so then." If you're ready to go off and read and summarize your own stories, go ahead and click the thumbs up button. Off you go, rock stars. See you soon.